God, help us get through this one
In Jesus'
more time.
mighty name, we plead your blood. Lord, be with us. Give us strength.
Just easy does it. Easy does it. Okay, thanks for being. Yeah, we're good. Appreciate you. Welcome to the Kelly Brewer Show. We are going to try this one more time
Yeah,
with Miss Joni Droddy.
that's right.
She is with the Orange County Hope House in Vidor, Texas. She was kind enough to write a little 2-sentence bio, and I love this. It says here, I'm a lifetime Vidorian, director and coordinator of Orange County Hope House and the Hope Chest, and that's a shelter for women. She lived the first part of her life here being part of the problem. I can relate.
Yeah.
And now living the rest of her life being part of the solution here in Orange County and in Vidor. And you know what? I think you're going to inspire a new generation to do the very same thing that
I hope so.
you say here. So, if you will, could you take us through the story? It's a great story.
Yeah.
I really enjoy your perspective. And so start at the beginning
Okay.
and let's try.
Okay. So I was raised in an outlaw home, a drug addict's home. My parents were functioning addicts, so I didn't think there was anything ever wrong with our lifestyle. It was normal. My dad was a welder. My mom was a nurse. Everybody worked. We went on family vacations. But behind closed doors, my parents were addicts. They were prescription drug users and ultimately other things, with the crowd they brought. So I grew up in that, ultimately leading to a life. I'm a lifetime resident here. We actually lived on Alamo Street.
I know where that is.
Yeah, it was the fifth house on the right. That's where I grew up. Brick home, just a good family life from the outside.
Right.
Like I said, the friends that knew my family were they were of the same outlaw style as my parents were. My dad was like the original brotherhood.
Wow.
He was just he had a good name. He was well respected in the town.
Was his parents into that too, or do you
Actually, no. He was from Starks.
Oh, okay.
And actually, when he was a little boy, he would walk to the nearest church wherever he was at. He just got older and he was just rough and tough and got off into that
Right.
old lifestyle. And anyway, he by the time I was probably 14, I remember one night I was nauseated. I was sick at my stomach. My mom had made some beans, and I thought it was that made me sick. And she was like, I have something for you. I have something that'll help you out. And she gave me a Xanax.
Xanax.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, I feel really good right now. This is so...
It solved your immediate problem.
Yeah, I wasn't nauseated anymore. I felt good, and I didn't know there was anything wrong with that because my mom gave it to me.
Right. It's okay.
Yeah, it was safe because my mother gave it to me. And anyway, so that was the start of a terrible, would be a downward spiral for many years of my life afterwards. And it was probably by the time I was, it wasn't probably, I was 16. And I had my first child. Well, my only child. I keep saying first child. I only have one. And by the time I had her, 3 days later, I turned 17. And it wasn't too long after that. I was just ready to. My friends were going to the bars, going to the clubs, hanging out, and here I am with a kid at home. Like, wait, hold up, what's going on here?
Were you still in high school at that time?
I quit.
Quit high school.
Yeah. I quit the second semester of my 11th grade year, and I was just ready to live my life and have a good time. So I, kind of kicked my daughter's dad out because he was an alcoholic, and I just wasn't going to live my life
Right,
like that.
right.
Even though I was ready to.
You were fixing to start.
Yeah, I was fixing to start my life, and it wasn't maybe of alcohol, but it was of drugs and
Right.
prescription pills and et cetera. And so I would leave her home with my parents, and I just started hitting the bars and. Yeah,
At 17.
At 17.
Even though the legal age was 18. Well, they let the girls in, They'll just let them in.
Well, I knew Larry Yard.
Oh, okay.
He was the owner of the Talk of the Town, and
Right.
my dad was friends with him. So I actually had my 21st birthday there when
Oh,
it was
wow.
my 19th birthday, just so people would think I was officially.
I got you.
They didn't ask any questions. She had her 21st birthday.
Well, you
here.
have to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. So, because it was like literally it was my home away from home. There was nights he would just lock the door and we would sleep on the stage or whatever because we were all too
So wiped
toasted
out, yeah.
to go home. And I was thankful that he didn't try to drive,
Right.
or because I eventually worked there and et cetera. But I just like the scene. I like the atmosphere. Like I said, I didn't drink. I just like to dance and
Right.
sing with the band
Right.
and just party.
Just a kid.
yeah.
You're just a normal kid.
I was
really.
just a normal kid trying to live my life. Yeah. And my parents were my mom, she was very much the star of the show when we were anywhere. So I seen that in myself when I was in the bars, and it was just fun. And so probably not long. I was 18, 19, growing up in this. By the time I was probably about 24, I really started getting into like little bits of trouble. Like I would get a no driver's license ticket or a no insurance ticket, or I just wouldn't pay it. And my dad would be like, "What are you doing? You need it." And I just wouldn't. And I would get a warrant. They would take me into jail. But every time that they would take me into jail, someone would always bond me out.
You were the baby, I guess.
I was the baby. I couldn't do no wrong. It didn't matter if I was doing all the wrong in the world. In my parents'
Right.
eyes, I did no wrong. And,
Right.
and they just kept enabling and giving to every wrong thing I
Right.
was doing.
The door was wide. The door was wide open to do the wrong things.
It was. It started getting worse. It started just gradually getting worse. I started trying new drugs. I started experiencing life with new people. My brother had already hit his mark of headed to prison. He was going to his prison for his first time, and he was my best friend. He
Yeah.
was like my idol. He was my hero.
He was older?
He was older. He was 4 years older than me. He used to box, and he did mixed martial arts, and he
Wow.
was bad to the bone. And
Right.
I remember watching him, and I was like, man, you're amazing. Like, he was so cool. So I started boxing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was actually the first female boxer in the Vider Boxing Club.
I'll be dang.
I wanted to do everything,
Everything
he
he
did.
did.
He was my big brother, and he was just cool,
I
know?
gotcha.
He was popular. People loved him, and I wanted to be like him.
What was his name?
Tim Droddy.
I bet I know him.
Yeah, he is 48, 49, actually headed back to prison, just got sentenced 25 years, probably about a month ago. It was pretty devastating, yeah.
Oh, no.
For an evasion charge, but it was his third felony
Oh, my
evasion.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy stuff. But he was probably his first round in prison, and he got mixed up with the Aryans gangs and just affiliations. And when he came out, I was still just idolizing him, and I wanted to know everything he was doing, everything. So I eventually fell into that, and that was like opening up a whole new can of worms to a whole new level of devils.
Yeah.
for real.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So you were you thought you were rising, but you were actually descending.
I was descending like into a spiral to the pits of hell. It was crazy. I didn't even realize it. But so I got off into that and started meeting those people, and they did it all. They cooked dope. They did it themselves. It was
Wow.
just a whole new level of partying.
If you want to call it that.
If you want to call it that. It got to where it wasn't fun anymore. It was
Yeah,
scary.
Scary.
It was like, oh, what is this,
Yeah,
you know? So, with all that new territory comes new problems and new troubles. So my little tickets and my little misdemeanors started turning into bigger things. And I eventually got a felony drug charge. Yeah. So about the time 28 to 30, it was like probably some of the darkest times of my life. I had hit an all-time low with an all-time low group of people.
Almost, but on purpose.
Yeah.
Not knowing, but.
Not knowing, not having any clue. And
you sort of woke up and you were like, oh my God, I'm in this dark room and who are these dark people and now what?
Yeah, now what? How do I get out of this? And I think silently I began to ask myself that and just, I didn't really pray living in that lifestyle, but I think I did some like foxhole prayers.
Yeah.
God, if you'll get me out of this,
Right.
help me, God, because I know that I will die here.
So it was beginning to work on you at that point.
Yeah. And God began helping me because I got that felony drug charge and I got put on probation. And I had a mindset of you can't tell me anything. I'm gonna do my own thing. I got this.
Smartest one in the room.
Yeah,
Yep.
I got this. That was my famous last words. And so about 31, I'd revoked probation, and I went back to court, and the judge was like, "This is it. We can't tell you anything. We can't make you listen or understand that your life is in a perpetual downward spiral, and something's got to happen to make you learn." So they offered me rehab because I'd never been in any kind of trouble, or TDCJ, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, which is prison. And, that was bad to the bone. So I was like, give me prison. I don't want rehab. I ain't ready to quit nothing. I ain't ready. I don't want what you got to offer.
Right.
But what I didn't realize, I was setting myself up to win. God was helping me. And I got sentenced to 3 years TDCJ. And it was like soon as I signed for that time, reality set in. I'd been locked up for a little bit. I was sober now. I didn't have all those voices of distractions and people in my mind. I wasn't trying to prove myself to anybody.
Right.
It's like, uh-oh.
When you got into the system.
Into jail, headed to prison. It was like God saying, you bad now?
Yeah.
Well, let's see
Who's
how bad.
now?
Yeah, let's see how bad you are. And I quickly realized that I wasn't as tough as I thought I was. I was a woman with emotions. I hurt. I felt pain, and I was broken. And so I just had to suck it up, Buttercup. I could remember all those things that my dad used to tell me as a younger girl, a teenager. Joni, you shouldn't do that. You probably shouldn't go there. You might need to take care of this before it turned, and I was like, wow, I should have just listened.
Yeah.
But as the old saying goes, children.
It's all right. We can go.
Okay, go sit down. Children don't do what you do. You say do, they do what you do.
That's right.
And it is a fact.
That's right.
Because I thought, you're telling me this, but you're doing that.
Right.
And I'm going to, if you can do it, I can do it.
You can, right.
Yeah.
Not what you say, but what you do.
Yeah. So I went and did my time in TDC, and my parents would come visit me, and they just kept looking worse and worse. And it was very disturbing to me. My daughter at this point was 13 years old at the time that she really needed her mom. Her life could have really went any different direction.
Same way you went, possibly.
It could have. But I'm so grateful that, once I got out, I learned that all she had picked up was cigarettes.
Wow.
That was a blessing to me.
Yeah.
It's not good,
Right.
but it could have
Way
could have been way worse. And so I was doing 13 months on a 3-year sentence, and I came up for my very first parole, and I made it, and they gave me a 3-month course that I needed to take. And during that 3-month course, Pearl went to my house, set my address up. I was good to go home. And I was good to get out March 11th, around March. Well, December, right after I made parole and all this happened, I get a call from the chaplain. And he said, they called me by name. They come in the dorm and call me by name. And I was like, something's wrong, because they call you by number there.
Really?
It's like, wow. And we need you down at the chaplain's office. Something's going on in your family. And I get down there, and I talk to my daughter on the phone, and she quickly lets me know my dad's okay, and then says, but Mama has overdosed. My mom.
Overdosed.
Yeah. She overdosed and died in the living room where I...
God have mercy.
Yeah. And I knew right then, because I'd been praying and asking God to remove anything from my life that would keep me from doing anything that he would want, because I felt it. I felt it all through those years. Me and my brother would actually sit in our high state of mind, partying, because as we're leaders of a gang, and we're like, you know what, these people, we're leading these people, but we were so dumb because we were leading them for all the wrong things.
Right.
But it was in those moments that we realized that we didn't even realize it was from God at that moment, but God had given an ability to us, a talent, and that we were just using it for stupidity. And
so pause on a sec. So I didn't notice this the first time, but you had prayed for God to remove obstacles, and then your mom passed. Did you feel responsible? Or, I mean, God's obviously in control of that.
Yeah,
but.
he is. And I knew I was at a different level of faith at this point. I'd been locked up for over about a year, and I had done nothing but just pour myself into what God would want to do for my life. Because I felt the tugging from a little girl. I knew that God wanted to use me. I just didn't know how he would use me, or how to go about allowing him to use me. We would be in church for a little while, be out, whatever. But when he sat me down in prison for a little while, he was able to speak to me.
Yeah.
And I prayed. I would see those girls in there, and I would see the mentality. You could almost look around and be like, she's coming back. She's coming back. Just rebellious still. They still weren't submitting to the system.
You were actually kind of learning a skill during all of this. Wow.
It was really eye-opening. It saved my life.
The prison time.
The prisons. God, I tell people all the time, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. And even a little bit after I got in, I was thankful, because I knew that it was bringing me to a greater cause. I knew that it was bringing me to something greater.
So it was a relief in a sense.
Absolutely. Wow. It's so crazy. People really don't even understand, but I'll never forget the day I got arrested. And I knew the last time was the last time. I knew like everything was running short. I had exhausted all other options. Yeah. And I was actually in Alabama running from the law. And when they caught me, they flew me back to Jefferson County.
Ouch. With
a bunch of handcuffed to a 6-passenger plane with probably a bunch of murders.
Oh, my gosh.
My first and only felony. I'm like, what? I was the only girl.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, what in the world is going on? What have I done?
Yeah.
What have I got myself into?
You just kind of woke up almost at that moment.
Yeah. So after my mom passed away, I had really made up in my mind, this is not the life I want to live. I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to make a change. And everything I got to do to help pull my family out of this generational curse. I'm going to do it. If it begins with me. This is where it ends, and this is where it begins. And so
that took some strength, and that took some strength to stand up like that.
It did. It really did. And I knew I had to get myself with the right people and connect to the right people. So, and I didn't really do that right away when I first got out. My daughter got pregnant with my granddaughter, and she was same age, 16.
Same thing. History repeating itself.
Yeah, and I was like, hold on, I'm supposed to be breaking these generational curses, not helping.
Right.
And I knew right then, I was like, if I have to, I need to be a mom. I need to know how to, so I can teach her how to be a mom. And there was only one way that I knew the people that I could trust to help me become the woman that I was supposed to be. And I live right down the street from First Pentecostal Church. Brother Bruce Lockett used to pastor it, is now part of Eastgate. It was gifted to Eastgate, and Pastor Tuttle pastors over there now. And I walked down the street, and I remember the altar call that day was, if you want to be used by God, not if you need something, if you need a healing, it was if you want to be used by God. And I felt that. I felt that from when I was a little girl. This is it, Joni. This is it. This is what it's about. All that for this. I made my way up to the altar, and God filled me with His Spirit, and I was baptized in Jesus' name, and I just began living that life. I poured myself in. I said earlier, I'm an all-in type of girl.
Right.
You're not going to get half of what I do. I'm all in, and so I just began pouring my whole life into God, into the church, and what He would have for me.
You know, just to break there. So that's something that I've actually come to respect about the Pentecostal people that I've just recently sort of met. You know, I just started going just out of curiosity, really.
Sure.
And I mean, you guys, the 100%.
Yeah.
Wide open.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just in your service, which is, you know, everybody's involved in that service. Everybody in the building is involved in that service. But
yes.
I went to a conference, I don't know, a few months ago, and people from all over the country.
Yeah.
Like a financial
Kingdom Works.
Is that what it was?
I remember seeing you, yeah.
And it was really good, and I admire that about you guys. Excuse me. All in.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just no other way to be.
So it's a good fit, is where I was
is.
going.
It's a very good fit for me, because I knew that I don't know how to do anything halfway,
Right,
you know.
right.
And so I began immediately going over to Eastgate, and this was before that FPC and Eastgate had merged.
Right.
They were two
And
separate things.
How long was this after you got out?
After I got out, the time frame was probably 2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were a missionary, you said.
Yeah.
During that 2 years?
No. The 2 years I wasn't in church.
Okay.
I got out, and then I started going there. It was probably about a year and a half, 2 years. I was just trying to figure it out, trying to find my way. I was trying to do what I had promised God, but without God.
I got you.
By myself.
I got you.
You know what I mean?
You were still learning.
Yeah. I was just finding my way. And then I knew when my daughter got pregnant with my granddaughter, it was like, this is it. This is where we draw the line. I can't do it no more by myself. And that's when I started going down there, and I quickly got connected with some strong people at Eastgate that helped disciple me. Allison Davis, my life will forever be grateful for her mentorship in my life. She was a part of the Air Force. She had never lived a life of heathen like I did.
Yeah.
But she had that strong discipline and just structure in her life that I needed.
Yeah.
And I knew right away, I didn't like half the time I wanted to beat her up for the things she was telling me. It's like, who do you think you are? But I needed it, you know. She
Right.
got a hold to me.
Well, how did that happen? How did you make that connection? Did you go up to her? Did she come to you?
Well, I started going to Eastgate. My cousin Donna had been at Eastgate all my life. She was like the only one in our family that stood and lived for God. So when I connected with her, when I started going back to church, she introduced me to Allison.
Gotcha.
She was like, hey, Joni needs a pair of shoes to wear to church, and we happen to wear the same size. So it all began over a pair of shoes. And she's actually the lady that I started going to Turkey with.
I see.
And we did mission work together for several years.
Wow. What was her name again?
Allison Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's still around?
Oh, yeah. I still text her.
Does she go to Eastgate?
Uh-huh. Every life move that I make,
Really?
she's still a very big part of my life.
Maybe I need to meet her.
You do need to meet her. She's her and her husband. They became spiritual parents to me that I never had.
Right.
It was because it was quite embarrassing growing up in public. You know what I mean? because I'm having to do things at 33 and 34 years old.
You should have known at 10.
That I should have, bank accounts, driver's
I had
license.
the same thing.
It's like, what in the world? And they helped me, you
That's
know.
good.
They taught me. I always say that I would not be the woman of God that I am today without who she has been in my life. And I'm so grateful for her.
Thank God somebody will take the time, just a few minutes here and there.
Yeah.
Makes all the difference.
Yeah, well, I actually ended up living with them. And when we were back and forth to Turkey after I put my dad in the nursing home, I lived with them it was just going to be 6 months.
Right.
And then we started going back and forth to Turkey and doing mission work there because I had made up in my mind that once God brought me out of the drug lifestyle, that I was never going to be a part of that life again. So just don't ever tell God what you won't do, because he may have a different plan.
That's right.
So after Turkey, I felt like I wasn't completely fulfilling the calling God had placed on my life. I knew that He wanted to use me so much. And granted, I mean, going to Turkey, being used by God there, traveling, doing evangelistic road trips, and pouring into Iranian people and refugees, and it's exhilarating. I was being used by God, but
I bet you helped some people there.
Man, it was a wonderful time. I've got some really cool stories if you ever want to talk about that one day.
Maybe we will.
Yeah. But it was a really cool time, but I felt like I wasn't making the impact that God had intended for me to make. And I felt Him began to call me to my city, to Vidor, Texas. Because when I first came out of that lifestyle and the transformation was being made in my life, people would tell me, you should just get out of Vidor. You should just, you ain't going to be able to heal here. You ain't going to be able to change your life.
Can't do nothing.
Yeah.
Ain't no good.
And that kind of thing works for the good for me.
Works the opposite.
It works
the opposite effect.
Yeah, I'm hard-headed. Just go ahead and tell me I can't do it, because I'm going to show you I can. And so when I felt the Lord calling me to Vidor, I didn't know exactly what that would look like. So I met with my pastor, Pastor Tuttle, and he said, awesome, I'm so excited. This is the will of God. So I ended up moving, and he said, I want you to start a recovery group. It's like, yeah, whatever Pastor says we're going to do. Excited, and I leave, and I'm like, what in the world?
What did I just commit to?
Yeah, I've never been through recovery. So I started praying and fasting and seeking the Lord, and He just spoke clearly to me. He said, Joni, you have to give these people what I gave you, and that's the plan of salvation, the death, the burial, and the resurrection. And just He laid it out in recovery for them. So we started that, got that kicked off, and it became very, very successful. And about 6 months after that,
how long ago was that when that started?
November will be 4 years.
4 years.
It was about 6 months after that, I met with Sheriff Lane Mooney, and I was praying about taking this recovery group into the Orange County Jail. And at that time, not even realizing the Hope House was coming into fruition.
Right.
I didn't have a clue yet that God had that plan.
Gotcha.
I was just moving in the Spirit,
trusting
God. And so he was like, yeah, we had a leadership meeting for the city. He was still actually constable at the time. And he knew my life.
Yeah.
He knew me from when I was a heathen, and he's seen the transformation, and he trusted me. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for him, because the Lord used him to help open those doors to get us where we are now. As that was moving really good, the Hope House starts coming into fruition. It's like, we got to have something to do with these ladies when they come out.
Right.
We're going in, we're teaching them, we're talking to them, but what do we do now?
Some follow-up or something.
There's so many people, years and years, will go in and do prison ministry. I'm thankful for prison ministry, because when I was in prison, I didn't even know what the word repent meant. I thought it meant just ask Jesus for forgive you of your sins. I didn't know it meant to completely turn around.
Right.
But how do you turn around and then get out and go to the same environment that you was living in?
Right.
I needed that when I got out.
A safe space.
Yeah, that's what I needed when I got out, and I didn't have that. I went back. You can't really choose your family. you go back to that same environment,
Yeah.
and we're a creature of habit. So we
Right.
fall back into familiarity, and it's inevitable.
Right.
You're gonna do it again.
That's right.
And so that's where the vision of the Hope House began to come into play, and it's a women's 9-month reentry program, and we take ladies coming out of Orange County Jail. Not exclusively. I take some women that have come out of rehab or even prison, but I really like working with the Orange County Jail. I like to keep it local with our people right here with what God has entrusted us with. So it's a 9-month program. They come out and they stay. They get to work quickly and move into starting to save money. We teach them financial education,
Basic skills.
basic skills of living, things I had to learn
Right.
again. Yeah. It's just good. It's a good thing for our community.
That is good. So, I mean, who came up with the concept? Was that from you, or you had a group?
It was actually some things that, it was a vision and a passion I had. Yeah.
So it's kind of your baby?
Yeah, it's my baby. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, the recovery group, Pastor had asked me to lead that, and I said, yes, sir. But I think that's where it just began. I know it is, actually. It was my obedience to do something that he's seen in me that I didn't want to do.
Wow.
I had no desire to ever go back and hang out and lead a bunch of addicts and a bunch of people that came from the life that I came from.
You were trying to run from it.
I was like, get me out of here. I don't want to be nowhere near. But let me tell you something. They are my family. We have a group that runs about 30 to 35. It's rocking on 40
Wow.
every Tuesday night. We meet actually at the same little church that God filled me
Just
with
women?
the Holy Ghost. Nope. Men too for our recovery group. We have such a great group of people that such great stories, and we actually I'm not boasting at all anything about me. It's
Just
not.
tell the truth.
It's not about me. It's
Right.
about what God's doing. We actually have 2 other people from different churches that have a recovery program in their church coming to sit in our meetings because they see how successful the program is, and they see what God is doing through these people. Because not only are they the people just coming out of the drugs, they're moving into ministry. They're moving into teaching Bible studies. They're moving into being missionaries right here in their own
Gotcha.
city. And it's truly incredible. Like, these people are starting their own businesses. They're just, and it really has to do with the accountability. Three weeks a month, we have a facilitator that speaks on a topic. They open up and talk about it. But 1 month, 1 week a month, we have accountability meetings. And I have a list of questions for newcomers and then a list of questions for our older people. And it's just asking the new ones, it's like, do you smoke? Do you do this? When do you plan on stopping? It's just like, I'm expecting you to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
It's not like we're going to sit around and talk about what we've always done and this is where we're at. We're moving forward. It's all about moving forward to the next thing. And it's so much more than just becoming sober.
Everything that you missed,
Yeah.
you're now infusing into your community.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
It truly is the greatest life. And I wake up with joy every day to get to work and to get to do what I get to do.
Well, it's not work if you're having fun.
It's not work. And it's so much fun. We actually have a lake day coming up. Just there, like, I have them over for Thanksgiving. They're my family. You know what I
Wow.
mean? I always wanted a big family, and the Lord
Now
actually
you're the
gave that to
spiritual
me.
mom.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, that's good. That is
Yeah.
that is just an amazing thing. So, give us the phone number,
Okay.
maybe the email.
Yeah. 409-932-6339 is my phone number. Our email address is viderhopehouse185@gmail.com. And our website is orangecountyhopehouse.org.
There it is. If somebody's listening, somebody's watching, you're here in Vidor or Orange County, call these people, and they'll get you in touch with the resources you need. I'm inspired.
Awesome.
You give me chills on a couple spots right there. So I appreciate, and I know the community and the county appreciates what you're doing, and probably those young people that you're helping.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that they're all young. I'm just assuming.
They vary. They vary
Yeah,
in age.
yeah.
Our very first graduate is actually 57.
Wow.
Our baby is 19.
Baby is 19, but the oldest 57. So you're never too old
You're never too old.
to
Yeah.
get the straight, to do your 180.
That's
and
right.
Get back. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Even more amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
I appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir.
So
No
good,
problem.
and your patience and
Thank
your
you for
kindness.
having me.
And appreciate your young man there helping us on our technical difficulties.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, and so thanks for watching the Kelly Brewer Show. Adios.